everyone, and welcome to this Poly and Headset Solution webinar. My name is Neil Fluester, Product Director here at Poly, and I am your host for this webinar session. We want to try and make this as fun and interactive as we can. I'm sure you sat through loads of tediously boring webinars where you see the slide count of 1 of 500 slides. This is not going to be like that. No slides, although actually we got one. But if we bring up slides, you can shout at us, and we do want you to shout at us. Use the chat, use the Q&A, ask us your questions and ping us and let us know what you want to hear. We've got some great guests we've got coming out for you this afternoon on the show, and I'm going to be quizzing them with some questions that I've already got lined up. But again, this is your show. This is all about you guys out there watching live, and we'd love to hear from you again as to all the kind of information that you need to hear out there in the market in South Africa. So for those who don't know me, my name is Neil Fluester. I'm a product director here at Poly. I was previously with Polycom for 8 years, and now the two organizations coming together as the new brand Poly. I'm actually in London. It's cold, it's wet, it's raining, but I'm here to support the Europe, Middle East and Africa theatre with regards to our entire product portfolio. I've been down to the region a couple of times. Actually, I think it was my last trip pre-lockdown 1.0 actually was in Joburg in January this year, and I got completely sunburnt. My poor pale British skin couldn't handle that Johannesburg sun back in January, but I do love coming down to the region, and I can't wait to come down and see you guys again. So let's talk about the agenda and the lineup we have for you guys this afternoon. We have first up Rodney Waring, who I'm sure you all know from Headset Solutions. He's going to be giving us a quick overview of the market and what's going on down there in the region with regards to pre-pandemic, in pandemic, and let's hope post-pandemic in the market in the region down there in South Africa. I'm going to learn a lot from that because it's been a while since I've been down there. Next up, really early in the morning. I love getting people up early in the morning. I do a regular show, I'll plug it now actually, every Monday on YouTube, Poly Weekly News. And I've got a great habit of getting people up on the west coast of North America very early. But for Duncan Barnes, our Director of Alliances here at Poly, it is very, very early in the morning. He's in Washington, I think he is. We'll get him up in a bit. But I think unmute your mic, Duncan. What time is it there?
It's 5:32.
5:32 in the morning. You see what this guy has to go through just to get you some great updates on what's going on with Poly and Microsoft. But it's not just about Poly. We've actually got someone from Microsoft coming in to join you this afternoon. Tim Lothering from Microsoft, Technology and Solutions Architect for Microsoft. Going to be coming in a little bit later on to give us an update of what's going on at Microsoft with Teams, how the transition's going with Skype to Teams. Sure, that's been accelerated with everyone in lockdown and moving to the cloud, but he's going to be talking us through that and what's going on in that market. And then we were joking earlier, we're saving the best for last. Headset Solutions very own Gary Kruuse will be covering off some of the technical details of what's been going on down there. Again, what they're seeing at Headset Solutions, what the customers are wanting from a Teams room experience. So that is the show. So buckle up, sit back and enjoy. And again, do get your questions and comments in. And again, I will pose those to the audience as we go through. But first up, let's bring out Rodney and bring him to the stage. Rodney, afternoon, I should say, to you. You're a couple of hours later than me, I think, there. So it must be, what, 3:30 there?
Yeah, it's currently 3:30 in South Africa, Cape Town.
So what's going on? You're Cape Town, which I believe is raining at the moment. Tell us what's going on, not necessarily just in Cape Town, but in that whole South Africa market. I'd definitely like to learn. Here in the UK, we've just gone into another lockdown. What's going on with regards to the market and the market trends there that you're seeing down in South Africa?
So, Neil, suddenly we actually completely the opposite of what's happening in the European market. We are almost out of lockdown. We're currently at level 1, but it's like the majority of the companies are back business as normal. If you look at, for argument's sake, some of my channel partners, the most of them are back to normal, back to office, engaging. We can visit, set up business almost weekly with the majority of my if I'm looking at my now when I refer to financial institution, work insurance companies, etc., it seems like or still obviously where and some of the rest, and then obviously some but they do have rules that does, which once again that makes and so that's
Right. Okay. One, two, next. No.
so 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 that when it comes to when I compare, I unfortunately companies that start looking at so
Right. Okay. And uh, accelerate, try to use the based on what's going.
so pre-COVID, it's like the majority of the companies went to a point like communication operations as much as possible. Everybody had this idea, okay, you're going to do this, but nobody took that step overnight. Go to collaboration and communication. So you were forced to a couple of days, a short that do overnight. Really like a lot of improve better stuff. What we are seeing in collaboration and especially for employees, when I get adults, that has become
Okay. People having issues going on. Chat coming back. Anyone say cannot do that? Go on, say. Okay. Always judge doing these things of like my at, right. I think try that. Is that any better? That's the same. Better? Yes, better. Yes. This is challenge. Okay. Right. Let me try and wave work magic here and then let's try that. How does that sound for me? Are you hearing me okay? Fantastic, brilliant. Okay, let's do this a different way. 1 second. Gavin's saying no. Gavin, don't let me down. Should be better. Okay, let's say that. Not. What do you mean not better? Neil's saying it is better. Make up your mind, everybody. Is it better? Crystal cleared. They're on a delay. Yes, excellent, brilliant. Right, Rodney, say something and make sure they can hear you.
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Is Rodney better? Yes, 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 perfect.
Great stuff.
Do you want to just cover off that last bit again, just because I think so people were getting breakup on that last bit?
Yeah, so we were just talking about the unified communication adoption in South Africa. As I was touching, I said, prior to COVID, everybody, it seems like the majority or the large enterprise customers were trying to avoid it as much as possible. I'm not sure if it was cost or what the reason for that was, but overnight, everybody had to adopt it. They had to get unified communication. They had to make a plan to get cameras in place, the collaboration tools in place, headsets in place, all of that stuff. But like I said, it has become the norm now. And what I'm expecting is, even going back to normal, let's say post-COVID, I'm still expecting that all your employees, when they get back to the office, they are going to expect collaboration, unified communication, because of this pandemic. It has become the norm in their lives.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you ever so much, Rodney, for coming out. I think we'll get you back on maybe for some Q&A.
Sorry, Neil, Neil, just before you go, I would just like to take this opportunity to just congratulate you on your birthday as well. And taking the time to actually spend the year with us at your special day. So, yeah, thanks for that.
So, yes, I am 21 today. I can finally start drinking. And, yeah, thanks for that. Maybe a rendition of Happy Birthday maybe later for everyone. Thanks. That's awesome. So there we are. That was Rodney from Headset Solutions talking through what's going on in the market there and just some of the market trends that we're seeing. Apologies for the audio issues. You would not believe the setup and the way in which I make this magic happen. We've actually got 2 Teams calls happening simultaneously. Rodney and the rest of the guys are on a completely different Teams call to you guys, and then I run them through lots of cables and boxes and switches, so I can then do the split screen and the banners and all of that great stuff. So I do apologise with regards to the audio issues. Hopefully the gremlins have now been shaken out and everything is going to work perfectly. But with that, let's get our next guest out for you guys to talk to. Let me get my show notes up here. And again, as I mentioned back at the beginning, please make sure you get your questions ready in the chat. Obviously, other than you can't hear us on audio, we'd love to hear your questions and comments, and again, what you'd like to see, not only on this webinar, but in future webinars as well, with regards to what's going on. But with that, let me get Duncan out and introduce him, because it is exceptionally early in the morning for him. Duncan, good morning, very good morning to you. How are you doing?
Yeah, good on yourself. Morning. Yeah, very good morning. Happy birthday, Neil.
Oh, thank all the wishes are going to come in now. It's very good. So I don't think you need much introduction in the South African market. It's funny, when I get you on Poly Weekly News for EMEA, we probably have to introduce you, but I think you're pretty well known down there in the market. But anyone who's been sleeping in a darkened room, do you want to just do a quick introduction of what you do now? I see you've got a Poly shirt on rather than a Microsoft shirt. So do you want to just an intro?
Yeah, so I'm actually the director for global alliances, focused on Microsoft for Poly. So my role basically looks at the relationship between what we have. It looks at how we actually go to market and how we actually support our customers and partners based through this alliances. So our GTM strategy is what we land and how we do that. So that's pretty much an all-up process. We've got a team that is spread across our 3 theaters. That help us in terms of driving the same goals and the execution plan.
Nice, nice. And what is our strategy around Teams, and well, specifically Teams Rooms? Because there's a couple of, we've introduced some new products around that space, and obviously we've got some existing products. Can you tell us, what is the plan at Poly with regards to how we deploy video into Teams Rooms?
Yeah, so we pretty much in lockstep with Microsoft around what they're trying to bring out from a feature-wise perspective on the MTR and Android. So our room strategy is aligned very strongly with Microsoft in terms of we have small room equipment bundles that are created. That's the G10. We got the G40 and then the G85, and that kind of rolls its way up into kind of the large room space. With regards to Ignite this year, we also announced with Microsoft that the G7500 is going to come out on the Teams, Microsoft Teams Room on Android. So we're working with Microsoft and making sure that we get that ready and done, and we get the certification through for the G75. It's a very different approach that Microsoft has taken as opposed to having the MT on Android known as the collab bars. This is going to be an appliance-based, of course, approach, but with module equipment. So you'll have your camera, your microphone, or your Trio as an example, and so forth. That will be part of this bundle, and that will go to market. So yeah, we're excited about it. We see a great opportunity coming out from the G7500, the MTR on Android.
And I mean, what makes Poly? So, I mean, Microsoft create these kind of architectures. You've got the Windows MTR and the Android MTR, and again, I'm sure Tim's going to go into more detail on this from Microsoft. But when everybody's following this blueprint or this architecture of this technology, how do we differentiate ourselves at Poly? Why is the Poly one so much better than our competitors? What makes us so special in the market with regards to the MTR solution?
Yeah, when you look at Poly, right, we should look at Poly as kind of an end-to-end partner. So when we talk about what makes us special, what makes us unique as opposed to anyone else, is that we have more than just the meeting room, right? I talk about the in-the-room experience. It's having the right equipment in the room. So when we do get back into this office world and we are sitting around the table again, it's having that optimal experience in the room. However, we also have what I call outside of the meeting room, which is how do we make sure that our participants that are connecting remotely have got the right audio device and video device. And when you look at Poly, we have devices in the shared category and we have devices in the personal category. To what Rodney was saying earlier on, what we saw with COVID as well is people went out, and I used the term panic buy, and they panic bought devices that weren't even certified, right? Thinking that this would be a short-term process and that these panic buys would see them over the first 3 months and then everybody would get back to normal. Organizations have realized that actually, no, this is going to be in for the long haul. So this panic buy that was done isn't suffice enough to carry them moving forward. So what we are seeing now is that customers are now coming back and partners are coming back and saying, hey, what are the certified devices? And I guess that's where there's another unique tick next to our name, is that all of our devices in our categories are completely certified for Microsoft Teams. Further to that, and to add to that, we have our services department, so our Poly Global Services. I call it our superpower. We can do PBX assessments. One of the key assessments that they do deliver is this PBX, which is how do we get customers from an on-prem environment into a cloud voice and what is needed. So as Poly Global Services has these assessments, we can roll these out to our customers and help and facilitate these. So that I see as our superpower. And then added to that, we have our applications such as PMP and all of that.
Nice, nice. So I guess the other thing that really comes to the fore is our artificial intelligence technology in our products. And actually, I've switched with the audio issues are actually kind of potentially a blessing in disguise, because I'm now talking to everybody on a Trio C60. It's a certified Teams device, and it has noise block. So let's do a real-time noise block demo. Why not? I have my traditional bubble wrap, which is always needed for a noise block demo. And again, as I stop speaking, hopefully, Duncan wouldn't have heard that, but hopefully all of you guys out there watching live would have heard that the Trio differentiated human speech from background audio and gated my microphone to stop that going out. noise block is one of the artificial intelligence algorithms that we have on a lot of our audio devices, our headsets, our handsets, our conference phones, and our video devices. And also, when it comes to video, we've got a lot of great technology on our video devices with regards to camera framing and camera tracking, and I'll show you presenter mode if you haven't seen that in a second. Duncan, is there anything else you want to kind of cover off around these the MTR devices and the Android devices, and kind of where we're taking them and what the guys down there in South Africa should be kind of concentrating on as they build out their meeting spaces around this?
No, I think, if we can share, what we have. So when you look at the product availability aspect, so we have certified products for accessories in the meeting room space, and you can get those when we look at the products such as Eagle Q. Of course, the big daddy, as I call it, is the Eagle Eye Director 2, which has got that tracking and framing capabilities as well as the Poly Studio USB. But in essence, I think the big ask is when organizations look at moving forward with Microsoft Teams and looking at embedding this experience in the meeting room space, that we do so with the right equipment. And we have, of course, the best of both worlds right now. We've got the MTR on Windows and MTR on Android. Again, it's just making sure that we've got the suitable device in that room. And also not to neglect the remote participants. I think we do that so often, and we just, if you've got 75 people dialing into one call with a bad audio headset and bad video, that experience in that meeting room just is non-par. So, think about the meeting room, think about the outside of the meeting room experience, and making sure that we embrace and, we bring our remote participants a little bit closer to that conversation.
Very cool. Well, I know it's very early in the morning for you, and you probably haven't had nearly enough coffee yet. So go and grab a coffee, and I think we'll get you back at the end maybe for some Q&A with everybody on there.
Perfect.
Awesome. So that was Duncan Barnes, our Alliances Director, Global Alliances Director here at Poly, specifically focusing on the Microsoft account. So again, he is dedicated to Microsoft. So any questions around our alliance and relationship with Microsoft, check that out. We actually did a live event on Poly Weekly News actually yesterday. So if you haven't checked that out, we had Sandy Rao on, who is the product lead for the Android MTR, joining the show. She even did a live demo of the X50, Poly Studio X50 running in dual screen, and talking about HDMI input and all of the new features that Microsoft are rolling out on that platform. I would do a quick demo again. I did noise block again. Hopefully that came through for you. Now I'm using my Trio rather than my headset. But I wanted to do another demo. Now the audio won't come through on this because I've switched to the Trio, but I'll talk you through it and exactly what is going on here. Now I did a cookery video, a cookery show. Many of you may have seen this. Again, we put it out on the channel. But this was a cookery show that we put together. If I can get this to play, hopefully. He says, that one's not going to work. Oh, goodness me. It's all gone to pot this afternoon. Let me see if I can quickly change the video and roll this one for you. Because, again, it goes through our presenter mode on the Poly Studio and shows you that. So this is Cooking with Poly. This is my kitchen and me here, and you can see I'm filming a cookery show. Now, as I'm talking, the camera frames in. You can see that we use the what we call the rule of thirds. So we try and keep my eyes always in the top third of the video. And as I then move around the kitchen to get the ingredients that we're going to bring in there, you see the camera is actually tracking me. It's as if there's a cameraman actually live filming me as I walk around the room. So I go to the fridge here and get something out of the fridge. Again, think about town hall meetings. Think about distance learning and education. The ability to have a Poly Studio that's sitting on the table in the front row of a classroom, taking the place of an attendee or someone sitting there in the room, and actually the remote viewer, again, as Duncan was saying, we really want to enhance the remote viewer's experience of the meeting room or of the classroom. So as I say, the people viewing the session remotely will see the session as if their head is moving around, their eyes are tracking in the room. The Poly Studio is going to track that presenter as they're walking around the stage, as they're moving around the room. Now, interestingly, we use two pieces of technology to create this capability. The first one is facial recognition. So it's always looking for my face, looking for my eyes, my mouth and my nose, and trying to position me as say in that top third of the video. But we also use something called sound source location, or SSL, and that's looking for my voice and hearing my voice and where my voice is, and again, always making sure I'm in the shot. Now, why is SSL important along with facial recognition, specifically now where people are wearing face masks? Both the Poly Studio and the Eagle Eye Director can track people when they're wearing a face mask. So as you can see here, as I bring out my mirror there to show the studio, this whole video was shot literally using just a single Poly Studio, which has a fixed lens on the camera, and it was tracking and framing me in real time as I moved around the room there. So the artificial intelligence, the machine learning inside our cameras allows you to concentrate on the meeting rather than the technology, and it will always make sure you're perfectly viewed and perfectly in shot. And Duncan says we need some salt and pepper for that stew. So again, that shot. There's another great video again on the Poly YouTube channel where Brian Phillips has actually done a distance learning example, actually wearing, a face mask, and as he's moving around the classroom, it's tracking him in real time whilst wearing a face mask. So hugely powerful, and again, the technology is embedded inside the camera. So if you're using Windows-based MTR with the USB Studio or with the Eagle Eye Director, you're going to get those smarts built in with the ability to track that face mask. And if you're using one of the Android devices like the X30 or the X50, they also have speaker tracking and group framing built into those cameras as well. But that's enough about Poly. We're here, and Poly is literally just a device that sits on the end of Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams is the ecosystem, is the platform that everyone is deploying at the moment. So we wanted to bring out Tim from Microsoft to get an actual view from the horse's mouth from Microsoft themselves. So let's bring out Tim. Tim, good afternoon to you. How are you doing?
Fine, and yourself? Thanks, Neil.
I'm slightly calming down now. I've managed to sort out the audio issues. It's always, when you're pushing the sliders and all the buttons around, it's always a little bit fraught. But again, I think we are firing on all cylinders now. So again, as I asked Duncan, for the people watching remotely, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do at Microsoft, and what's going on with you?
Yeah, great, sure. Thanks firstly for this opportunity between Headset Solutions and Poly to co-present with you guys. If I had to introduce myself in probably 2 or 3 words, quite simplistically, I draw pictures. But in a more extended fashion, I'm a partner technical architect for Teams based here in South Africa, looking after the Microsoft partner ecosystem. My extension on that isn't just South African partners, but across the entire MEA, the Middle East and Africa, with, I don't know, my heart beats for meetings and calling. So I look after telcos as the champ for that.
Right. Okay. Awesome. So what are you seeing with regards to Microsoft Teams? I know a lot of people were using Skype for Business and were planning to kind of sweat that for a little while longer. And, we're going to go to Teams in a year, 2 years time. Clearly, the biggest driver in IT at the moment is this global pandemic that we're all seeing. What are you seeing at Microsoft around the market trends with regards to video collaboration and the transition to Teams?
So I'm going to cop out a statement from Satya. He made a statement saying that he's seen that we as a world, a global economy, has seen 2 years worth of digital transformation in 2 months.
Wow.
And I think this resonates with a lot of people watching the session, either now live or even post this. That whole forceful change, I have on-prem equipment. I do my business the usual way, meeting people in either in a meeting room or in person, driving across, meeting them in their offices, to this 100% virtual environment. Rodney was talking about our levels of lockdown earlier. And we actually got it quite hard in South Africa. We didn't stagger it up, level 1, level 2, level 3. We went straight to level 5, hard lockdown.
Go big or go home. That's what they said.
Pretty much. I mean, it was the first of its kind ever in the history of this country. Wow. Where we had to experience that level of you can't do anything. You can't go anywhere. You can't conduct business. Over the past few months, we've been inspired by the ways that our customers are connecting during meetings and Teams, right? we've seen bosses show up in meetings as virtual potato heads. I'm pretty sure you've seen this too. Some people are popping up some third-party software which integrates or brings it into Microsoft Teams. You're using OBS today.
Yeah, putting banners on and doing crazy stuff. Yeah.
It's a new way of work, right? We've never had to do this. And we've seen team stand-ups turn delightfully silly. We were talking about this prior to this. Do we make the session a super serious conversation, or do we keep it kind of interactive? And, we're losing a lot of that human physical touch, that human interaction, right? From teams of workers sharing shift updates to students and teachers connecting in virtual classrooms and CEOs conducting town hall Q&As with thousands of employees, our customers are finding new ways to come together. And I think this is really, it resonates very well with me. As Microsoft, we've created this great platform called Microsoft Teams. It is a ground up, brand new service. It is not Skype v3 or Skype v2. And because I'm sure that question will come in the Q&A.
Yeah.
It's a ground up, cloud only, cloud first, with customer security in mind. And we are surprised and inspired. And I mean, the amazed is probably a better word, and how people have found interesting and great ways to collaborate even more, right? I mean, we've done some research over the last couple of months during this pandemic. I mean, it's probably the world's biggest proof of concept, all right, in terms of working remotely. We found that eye-to-eye contact and physical connection with another human being increases dopamine levels, right, and decreases that stress. Now, simply having my video on allows me to see your face, and mind you, I'm using a great 1080p 60 FPS camera here. So you're able to see my eyes and not just be a blur. Being able to see people's facial expressions and how they react to, what you're prompting or what you're talking about, be it in the personal space. I mean, Duncan touched on this personal spaces earlier as well, to shared and meeting rooms, right? Shared spaces and meeting rooms. You need to bring everyone together, whether I'm sitting and working from home or whether I'm sitting in the office and meeting customers. Interestingly, part of this research, it wasn't just a simple question. We looked at countries with the most active Teams users. And guess what? South Africa is on that list.
Wow.
We saw that people in Norway, Netherlands, sorry, I'm looking at the numbers here, that we saw people from Norway and Netherlands turn on video the most, with about 60% of their calls having video feed or video on. However, who doesn't turn on their video that frequently? And this is where it gets interesting, right? Is that South Africa only turns on video 36% of the time. So 36% of your Teams meetings actually contain video that people have turned on. Now, this could be for a variety of factors. And on the more serious side, it could be bandwidth restrictions, location. I mean, we spoke about the pandemic. We spoke about, Duncan spoke about that impulse buy, or I just need something. Let me pick something up. I haven't had time to do proper investigation. Literally, the 27th of March, we went into level 5 lockdown in South Africa. And we were notified of it barely a week before that. So who has that kind of time to do proper research? And I think corporates, commercial, you think about private people. Now, I could also turn it around on the more humorous side. I have a face for radio, all right? I typically don't turn my video on.
I was going to say the South African nation is not one that I would class as being shy. I don't think there's any shyness there. So I'm curious.
No, for sure. So, with that, I mean, you could attribute many things to it, from low bandwidth to people not being used to being spotlighted as a video. But it's the new norm. We're going into a world of hybrid work. A lot of people talk about where we are today, and everyone's working remotely, with some people going to the office. Rodney spoke about people cycling through, half the teams there, half the teams not. We actually foresee that hybrid is going to be the new norm. All right, we keep talking about the new norm. The new norm is hybrid work, that flexibility. I mean, we've surveyed managers. They realize that 60% of those managers have actually stated that they'll probably return not to the old way of work where everyone has to be in the office Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, but more specifically, they'll actually adopt a more flexible work style. Work from home in the morning, skip the traffic, be in the office for your in-person meetings that are critical, and then go home and work for the rest of the day. And that same charge, we found that people working from home typically had 1 hour a day extended on their actual working time. So, I mean, there are some really interesting stats around this. Go ahead and have a look at our Teams blog. We've got some great content there around, stats that we're seeing. I mean, we announced 115 million daily active users, and we'll talk a little bit around that and the importance of Teams products very shortly.
Yeah, it's a good point actually to pick up on. I've been down, I'm not in South Africa, but whenever I've been to Joburg, the traffic there is ridiculous. I think London traffic is bad, but going through is it Stanton, I think, on the highway there, it's just ridiculous. We were staying in the Monty, and so when we come out of there and hit that highway, it's like, wow, this is crazy. So yeah, being able to go, okay, Monday, Tuesday, I'm going to still work from home, but then when my colleagues, we all get together on a Wednesday and we'll all go to the office, and then the rest of the week we'll work from home. Let's not sit in the traffic. Let's not waste our lives away sitting in a car park in a highway, but actually let's try and be more productive and get work done. So interestingly, now you talked about Team certified products, and I guess it's a real big thing. I picked up with Sandia actually yesterday when we were sort of saying, well, anyone can go and take a PC and put a Teams client on it, plug in a webcam and speakers and all the rest of it, and say it's a Teams system and put it in a meeting room. Clearly, using a mouse and keyboard is not a great UI to interface with a boardroom system. So you guys came up with this certification program. Can you talk us through, being a certified product and what that means, and all that certified program?
Sure. I mean, as an architect, I help partners design solutions, and I help customers too with their roadmap to Teams. Moving from Skype for Business to on-prem, and you've got a ton of devices, you could take those with you. There are some devices that can definitely work with Microsoft Teams. But a lot of people just think, okay, I'll grab a USB headset off the shelf from my local store. The reality is, and I mean, I'll go through some of these points now, but we can actually see a lot of customers, the majority of customers using Teams are not using certified devices. Right. And there is a direct correlation between the certified devices and the quality of the experience and the call and things like that. I'm using a Team certified device, as are all the speakers on this call, and our audio is crystal clear. Barring in the beginning.
It is now.
No audio, but it is super crystal clear now. So let's touch on some of these, right? So there are some core certification benefits. We talk about the ability for a Teams button, right? You've probably seen that and heard that. A lot of people don't understand this. But now imagine a scenario rather. Don't look at it. So when we talk about to customers, the certification of a device is more than just simply slapping a sticker on it and saying, it's Team certified. As an example, Poly and Microsoft engineering teams have worked closely together for years. And I'm talking purely on the team side, years to make sure that the products are perfect and work every single time. From muting and unmuting. Now, if you've got an uncertified or a non-certified device, I urge you to press the mute button on your device and see if Teams automatically mutes. It probably doesn't, but you mute the handset, or the headset rather. It's these little things, that quality of life conversation that you typically think about when I'm in a call. Am I muted? Am I not muted? Just before this call, I had an issue with the previous headset. When I was muting, it didn't mute my Teams client. When I unmuted, it didn't unmute. So I was having to mute and unmute myself in 2 different places, which means that I'm now concentrating more on the technology than on the business at hand. So from a device certification point of view, there has been millions of dollars spent in research and development for each of those certified device vendors. And it's not just a case of slapping a sticker on it and saying, we are now certified. There is a lot of stuff that goes into the back of this, right? We talk about basic call control. We talk about devices automatically registering with Teams. An example of this would be plugging in a USB dongle or a wired, for a wireless headset, but a wired device, plugging in the USB and Teams automatically picking up that, hey, this is a Teams certified device. Your intention is to use this device. That automatic switching, that telemetry, that data, that information is built into the hardware and the HID, the human interface device aspect and the firmware of that headset. I cannot stress the importance of a certified device more than simply saying it's a great audio experience. The quality of life experience that you get from it is just phenomenal. I can carry on for like 2 hours about this.
No, it's very good. And it is interesting because, again, a lot of people just think it is a sticky label. And again, I've been party to some of the conversations. There's a whole audio frequency range that we have, as a vendor, have to support. Specifics around, lack of, bass, lack of being it too trebly. It's got to sound good. It's got to sound right. And again, the frequency response of our microphones and speakers go through the ringer, and you will throw stuff back at us and say, this is not meeting the grade. Can you make changes? And some of the times, this is what delays some product launches, actually, from our point. And it's not a criticism, but I'm just kind of, again, trying to show the fact of the quality that you guys are driving through a team certified device. So you're not just taking any old Chinese headset that you can pick up on AliExpress and going, hey, it's team certified. There is a stringent list of requirements, not only from HID control, as you said, mute, unmute, off hook, on hook, but again, those audio frequencies and the quality of experience is a huge thing. I was also going to.
So let me just expand a bit on that as well, Neil. And I mean, it's the testing of these devices, and I'm sure you've spoken to your teams and you've probably been through something like this yourself. But the amount of testing that goes on with any device, and we're not talking about a range of devices. I'm talking about one headset. All right, or a handset, or an MTR on Windows, MTR on Android. It is extensive, and it's not just tested by Poly, it is tested by Microsoft as well. We've got sound engineers on both ends. We've got video technicians, engineers, people that actually look for the smallest, minutest little thing. At Microsoft, we have our own sound rooms to test headphones, right? So the audio equipment, the speaker pucks, the headphones that you're wearing. It goes through an extensive testing. It's not just someone slapping it on for 2 hours and going, yeah, this is great, let's put a team stick on it, right?
I've lost your audio now. Talking it.
Sorry, so this is the benefit of having Bluetooth connected both to your cell phone and
you're getting a call coming through. I've seen you live on the telly. Very cool. It brings to an interesting point, actually, and there's been a couple of questions. We'll get to some of the ones in the chat. There's a lady called Alison who's asked specifically on the Studio X range. So I don't want to put you on a spot, but we'll try this one. So Alison was asking, the Studio X range with the TCA, can you share content or share your screen without actually starting a call? So I guess, can I just come in and share my PC, I guess using the Teams client or maybe a cable to the Studio X50. I don't know if you can cover that or if you want me to take that one, but that's one that's come through from Alison there.
Sure. So I mean, all our certified devices that from an MTR on Windows and MTR on Android perspective, and we'll touch on the Android bit a bit shortly from a feature parity perspective. But these MTR support HDMI input, so you can come in and simply plug your laptop in and use the screens on the walls that you've spent lots of money on simply as displays, right? You don't have to join a Teams meeting in order to present that content. Nice. You can, and I could probably turn this around and say there is a great value prop in those local meetings still being Teams meetings. Think about it like this. Yes, I want to present content on my big 85-inch or my multi 85-inch monitor sitting on the wall, but I maybe want to record this meeting. I want to transcribe in that meeting. Yes, content is being shared, but maybe for posture, you would like to keep that content recorded. So although the answer is yes, you can do it via HDMI inputs and in the future, wireless projection, you could probably benefit of just having those two screens plug into the MTR and off you go. But consider joining a Teams meeting and conducting your meetings differently, right? We talk about posterity in terms of meetings. We've got the before, during, and after pieces. What happens before a meeting, planning, getting everyone on the same page, during the meeting, taking notes, that kind of stuff, and after the action items. We've got some really cool stuff coming down the line around action items post-meeting, which we'll probably not cover today, but it's a couple of months away. Some exciting stuff around after meeting action items or action notes.
Yeah, so she was saying without wires. So I guess that would be you start a Teams call with the, create a wireless meeting. So you use Teams client on your laptop, which is Wi-Fi, to the X50 in the room, and then you can just share your screen to that wirelessly. So you don't need to have that HDMI support. You can do it through the Teams client, as you said, a different way of setting that up. So very cool.
So I just wanted to add, there are some exciting changes we're making, and it's not massive changes, it's new features that we're bringing down in the next couple of months. If you have an NDA, we can talk about it, but there are some changes coming around this. People are actually equating this scenario with, sending out a Teams meeting or a meeting invite and attaching a PowerPoint deck to it, for argument's sake, with the idea of walking up to the device and clicking project. So, coming back to the new way we do work, maybe keep that in mind as an as an interim solution whilst you wait for that feature to come forward.
Right. Okay. I'll let you clear your throat. There you go. That's why you need the mute button. You see. Very good. So that brings us nicely on, actually, and it's we get asked this all the time. So we've got these two families that Duncan talked about. We are one of the only vendors that can offer. In fact, we are the only vendor that can do, cloud video interop, native phones, headsets, handsets, conference phones, video collab bars for Android, video systems for MTR for Windows. There is no other vendor out there. I'll shamelessly plug again that Poly is the only vendor in the world that has that breadth of solutions for Teams. But delving into these collaboration bars and the Windows and the Android, at the moment there's a delta. There's a definite kind of difference in functionality between the two. Now, Windows, the classic Windows MTR, as I kind of call it, has been around for a while, and I'm guessing that Microsoft probably has a few more Windows developers than you do Android developers at the moment, because it's your software. But can you tell us what the plans for the future? Is that gap going to close? Are those two kind of platforms going to get closer together over the coming months?
So the short answer is yes. The longer answer for that is it's going to take some time. Understand that MTR on Windows was our first release of our product and was by far the most focused on when we were talking about Teams meeting rooms. When we talk about, MTRs on Android, that was announced back at Ignite, we have some catching up to do. And yes, we do have more, let's call it, Windows developers than Android developers, but we have a substantial amount of Android developers, to name one of a few different platforms. Right? We're not even touching on the Azure development, whether it's Ruby or Python and that R&D team, but we are definitely bolstering and accelerating, bringing that gap between MTR on Windows and MTR on Android closer together for feature parity. So don't stress if you have a Poly MTR on Android device, like the X series that is being, I can't really talk about that. That's more your scenario. But with those devices being launched, understand that the license that you've purchased, that you're using, and the service that you're consuming will only get better over time. You don't have to go buy more licenses or purchase other features now suddenly to turn on the feature parity between the MTR on Windows and the MTR on Android. So if you're an early adopter and you get first in line to get these devices, because they're actually quite sweet. They're really, really nice devices. If this is your strategy to have, the MTR and Android Poly series in your meeting rooms for the small, medium, and large, or even the large plus scenarios, you can't go wrong. We are very committed to the Android ecosystem. Android is also the was the largest mobile operating system in the world at the moment. And I didn't have the numbers, but it's a couple of billions. It's in the double-digit billions of Android devices out there. And we are fully committed, to the point that if you have a look at our recent announcement back in September around the Surface Duo, which actually runs Android. So we are fully committed to the MTR on Android journey as much as we are with the MTR on Windows journey. From a feature parity date perspective, because I know a lot of people are going to ask that, I don't know. I don't know, but what I can say, it's a few months away. A few weeks to a few months. And let me explain why. You're not going to get all the features in one big gulp. We will release those features in stages and steps as needed and tested and validated. A lot of those are currently in tap. Some of them are in private preview at the moment with select customers. So you can expect some of these missing features to join that family in the coming weeks.
Very cool. And I guess it's actually fair to say, and again, we at Poly have done the same. If we'd have had this meeting and this webinar back in January, our roadmaps, both Microsoft and Poly's and lots of others, would look radically different to what they are. Poly has doubled down and accelerated some of our personal and hybrid products, like our Sync family of products. Microsoft, obviously, you've spent a lot of time doing things like virtual backgrounds and increasing the participant counts and your cat and blurring backgrounds and things like that. But that's because the users are using the desktop app more than they are the meeting room solutions. Now people are thinking about going back to the office and transitioning back to or even embracing hybrid work. Now you've got the accelerated move to increase those meeting room solutions. So I absolutely, can agree with the fact that you guys have concentrated on a lot of desktop features probably over the summer, when people were at home, and that's where they're consuming the technology. And again, we've done the same at Poly with regards to pivoting our roadmap, and you're now moving back towards the meeting room. So that's awesome around that. Just going to check the questions that are coming through. There's a couple of point ones that have come up, which we probably can't answer specifically. One was asking about, if I'm transitioning from, say, another vendor like Zoom or whatever to Teams, you can do that on the Windows, but you can't do that on the Android. And again, as you say, you're going to try and close that gap, but get an NDA in place, I guess, and discuss that once from Alison, I think. What else has got here? Is that a Sync 20 behind? It's a Sync 40, Tyrone, actually. Not a 20, it's a 40. My 20 got lost, it's a 40. And actually, spoiler alert, you are hearing Tim on a Sync 40. I'm using the way in which this is working and say I've got another Teams call running on my laptop that's coming out of a Sync 40, and you're hearing them on a Trio C60. I've got a C60 on my desk Trio, they're coming out of a Sync, so you are hearing the output of a Sync 40 played into a Trio. That's just blowing all of the mystique and the craziness that I did at the beginning of the call to get the audio working. But the fact that all of you said audio was perfect back in the beginning is testament to how great A, the Sync 40 is, and B, the Trio C60 is, and how you're hearing that. What else we got here on questions while we've got you? Is there a current fact sheet available for differences between functionality of Windows, Android, Mac OS, and Mac OS again? Is that published? Tim, is there a sort of cheat sheet on Mac and PC and Windows and Android and that stuff? On the Microsoft side?
I'm going to say yes. And then a top tip for everyone is, if you use Bing, and this is not a selfish plug, I'm dead serious. If you use Bing, all right, and you actually do a search for Microsoft-based technologies, we actually index our stuff very, very well. Yeah. So everyone knows about Google, everyone Googles everything, and that's perfectly fine. Carry on using your web browser of choice. But Bing actually indexes our own data pretty well. So if you're looking for something around, feature comparison, availability, rather just go ahead and use Bing, and that's just a selfless plug. But to answer the question directly, I'm trying to sit and think of the actual, if there is one, and if I can just quickly call it up from memory, or if I could post it in the link. Not to my mind right now. I remember seeing it on our docs.microsoft.com site. I'm so sorry, I don't have the short aka.ms link for that.
That's fine. I was going to say, so the roadmap for the Teams room system is public. So that is a public URL. You can see that. I use that all the time because I have that to hand. So I'm going to post that in the chat for everybody to look at. So Microsoft.com / Microsoft 365 roadmap, Microsoft Teams development, blah, blah, blah. It's a huge kudos to Microsoft in the fact that they published that roadmap publicly. So I've just put that in the link of the chat. So go and have a look at that. That will show you all of the this is brilliant. Live telly, you can't beat it. That shows you all of the things that are coming to the Android solution, coming to the Windows solution, coming to the desktop solution, and the Mac OS. So again, Alison, I think it was who was asking that question. Please have a look at that. Anonymous, thank you for the birthday wishes. That's awesome as well. Tim, thank you ever so much for coming on. Hang around, because I think what we're going to do at the end is get everybody back on and do a chat. But go and grab a bit of coffee, give your cat some whiskers, and we'll get you back on in a second. Again, keep your questions coming in. Last guest we've got coming up now, but we'll get everybody back out at the end. So if you have got some questions, then please put them in the chat and we'll try and get those answered. But as I said, we did say right back at the beginning that we're going to save the best till last. And I guess, if you want to see any of this technology that we've been talking about today, hook up with the guys at Headset Solutions down there in the regions. They've got amazing, demo facilities, amazing technical guys and girls, I'm sure, who can help support you and actually bring these solutions together. Talking of amazing technical people down there, let's bring out Gary. Gary, how are you doing?
Hey Neil, happy birthday. Quickly, get that out of the way.
There you go. Thanks. You see, that's the only reason I came on, to get all the birthday wishes. I'm going to slightly move you because you're a bit off camera at the moment,
yeah.
So stay where you are. But for those who don't know you and haven't had to call your services at Headset Solutions, can you kind of give us a brief introduction of yourself and what you do?
Sure. So for those that haven't seen me around, I've been around the poly space for probably about 12 years now, I think it is. Predominantly in the pre-sales and support side of things. So yeah, any of the solutions architect solutions that you guys are looking for, any of the designs, pretty much like Tim does. Probably my drawings probably aren't as good as his. I go out of the lines if I draw a stick figure. But I'm happy to recommend some of those solutions for you and then provide some of the technical support at the same time.
Very, very cool. Now, what are the technical challenges that we're experiencing in South Africa? I'm guessing bandwidth is probably one of them, but again, that's what I would think when I think of South Africa is, probably great in the towns, but once you get out of the towns, it's kind of probably gets a bit sketchy. But what else are you seeing with regards to, what customers are asking for with regards to room system experience down there in the region?
Yeah. So thankfully, bandwidth is actually one of those that doesn't come up too often anymore.
Okay.
For example, when RPX first came out, you needed 10 megs for it, and we only had 2 mega DSL. It was a bit of a problem. Thankfully, that seems to have gone by the wayside. A lot of people now have fiber to the home. There's not so much DSL around. There's not so much fishbone connectivity, etc. So we seem to be pretty good when it comes to that. What I have found a lot of is people returning to the office, especially in these phased approaches and maybe not having the IT or technical people available. And being exposed to Teams, during lockdown and using it every day and for hours at a time, and now getting back to the office and walking into a boardroom, they've been expecting that same experience. So we've seen a massive uptake on the Teams rooms when it comes to that, as far as, not having to train the people again and trying to give them the same user experience as they've had at home during those 3 months or 4 months of lockdown. So for that, it's been really great in seeing the development and the changes and the ease of use when it comes to Teams. I've had a lot of people ask me stuff like, my Eagle-Eyed director or my studio worked great when it was doing H3 to 3 or SIP calls, but what's going to happen now on Teams? Will I lose all of that? And it's been really great just to be able to switch that profile, bring them up in a Teams room, and let them see exactly the same experience. So being able to leverage that investment has been really nice. A couple of things as far as Teams rooms on Android versus Teams rooms on Windows goes. I'm quite happy that we've renamed those now so that people actually understand the difference between the two. Because I always got this phone call saying I'm using Microsoft Teams. And I do, and it was kind of like, well, what's the back end? And nobody really knew because they just knew they were having a Teams experience. So things like, for those of you who don't know yet, the whole Studio X range, we're looking at Android for that. And thanks for Duncan to highlighting that hopefully now the G7500 will be coming out for Microsoft Teams Room and Android as well. And then obviously our MTR is our GXT series. So the G10, the G40, and the G85, for those of you who haven't been exposed to them, give us a shout and we can run through those. But a lot of the stuff now has been kind of what you raised yesterday and kind of what Tim touched on briefly is how do we find the parity between our Studio X ranges and maybe the GXT series and the expectation around them. So things like HDMI ingest, dual screen sharing, all those type of features that people have maybe got used to on the traditional H3 to 3 or SIP platforms. They've now seen it on the MTRs and then kind of, okay, what's going to happen with the Teams on Android? And what you were touching on just now about the roadmap, I think if you guys are probably all just browsing it, thanks to Neil's link there. But if you go and have a look, I had a look just when the call started. Teams Room for Android currently has 10 features in development. And when I counted there, 9 of them are aimed, and Tim might get upset with me, but I see 9 of them are aimed for December. So I'm hoping that all of those will roll out in December. And if you take the time to look at them, a lot of them there will be questions that people have asked for. So there is stuff like HDMI ingest and dual screen, the common questions that come up when looking at these solutions. So do yourselves a favor, maybe bookmark that page and just refer to it every now and then. It's great to see where the development is.
Yeah,
and that kind of leads me to the next most common question I get is when is Poly going to introduce this feature? Right? And guys, I know we've probably sounded like broken record players before, but we are working hand in hand with Microsoft with this, and Poly is doing a lot of the development, but we are at the mercy of the Microsoft roadmap. So it's great to see the roadmap there. It's great to understand it and know that those features will come out as Microsoft introduces them for the client. It doesn't help just switching back to Poly mode and thinking that you're going to get the features there. We are kind of working hand in hand with them, so we need to wait for those features to come out.
Yeah, and we've got releases coming over the next I think there's one coming next week. It's Thanksgiving, obviously, in North America this week. So I think there's one coming out next week, which I think is dual screen. I'm going to have to double check. But we have got release candidates for dual screen, HDMI, the new controller app, all coming out in the coming weeks up until Christmas. There's a few things that have slipped over to January now. But again, our cadence from Poly's point of view is very much lockstep with Microsoft. And again, hopefully by the end of the year, a lot of that stuff will be ticked off from that list. Sorry, Gary, I talked over you.
No, not at all. I was going to say, linked to that is if you guys do look at that roadmap, you will see it's the common requests that come up. So if you do find a feature that you are looking for, please raise it with us. It is taken into consideration. It is passed up the chain, and stuff like you're seeing, like your HDMI ingest, is a feature request that came out often, and it has been addressed both by Poly and by Microsoft now. So if you do find something that is missing and you'd like to see it, like Neil says, there are a couple of very, very exciting new changes coming to the UI itself where next week and towards the end of the year. So once you've seen those, if you are looking for other features or tweaks and things like that, then just give us a shout, drop us a line, and we'll happily address them for you from there.
Very, very cool. Let me get everybody back out. If everyone can go and get their cameras opened on the chat. Well, I didn't set this up, but I didn't set up a fancy scene for it. But we'll just grab everybody back out, and I'll bring them up, and hopefully this will work. Let's see who we've got. So those guys are going to let's drop off the banner here for you and kill Rodney's name there. So guys, there's a couple of chat questions that have come through. I thought we'd just kind of cover them off. So I guess this one probably for Rodney. So Rodney, if we've got a customer or one of your customers out there in South Africa, what's the best way of being able to find out more detail and to get more information, see a demo and all the rest of it? Is that one for you or maybe for Gary? What should they do? Who should they call?
Yes, thanks, Neil. Look, you can visit the HZ Solutions website. All the contact details are there. My details are also on the contact details. Just send me a mail directly, and I'll make contact with you and get in touch. And then we can set up a demo. We can see what the requirement is. We can talk through it. If I need to get Gary to assist you with a POC or a sample or anything like that, we're more than willing to assist with that.
Very, very cool. One for Duncan. Can you differentiate for us the difference between a G10, a G40, and a G85? That would come through from John. Sorry, John, I don't get your surname.
Yeah, by all means. So the G10 is kind of your small entry-level room, and that has pretty much got your Lenovo tiny compute that we have with a Visa case, and then kind of it steps up into the G40. The G40 then, of course, has more of this Studio USB, Poly Studio USB with the same Lenovo Tiny in the Versa case that's based at your medium-sized room. The large room, what we had is we had a fully bundled room, which was the Lenovo Tiny, the compute, and then, of course, we had the Trio C60 as well as the Eagle Eye Director 2 from your camera tracking perspective. However, what we heard from our customers was in these large room deployments, they're looking for more of a DSP audio solution, and therefore we partnered up with Shure and Biam, but then removed the Trio C60, giving the customer the opportunity to either go with the Trio C60 or if they wanted to use the Biam and Shure solution, that they could do so and plug into that DSP ceiling file audio.
Very cool, very cool. The only thing I'd also add to that is the G10 is a great solution if you've got an existing non-MTR solution that you want to bring forward. So if you have a Trio and a Visual Plus, the G10 is a great option because you can then use the Eagle Eye Mini camera, use the Eagle Eye USB camera you may have with your Trio and Visual Plus, and then you can just have the G10 compute and touch controller, use your Trio 88 or 8500 and the camera, and you're just losing the Visual Plus basically, and that brings you to MTR. Same if you've got a group series with an Eagle Eye Director, for example. If you've got a group series and a Director, the G10 gives you a great opportunity to get to native. So it's a great vehicle to be able to transition you to a native MTR solution whilst trying to sweat your assets and protect your investment a little bit more. Tim, Alison was asking about your cat. What's the cat called?
It's a funny story and it's a very long one. But the cat's name is Jerry.
Jerry.
In the sense of Tom and Jerry. I used to have a cat, very old. He unfortunately passed away. But Tom and Jerry were my two cats, and he has no respect for personal space whatsoever. It's like, I don't know, and I'm sure all of you sitting at home are sitting with exactly the same scenario. Your animals can just sense when you're on a video call,
it's like
and they'll stick their cat face into your face with their tail showing towards the camera and the tail just being up, and it's just a pretty picture. So yes,
I feel this is a long feature request for Teams, cat blur maybe or pet blur. We can blur them out maybe in the cool. What else we got? So there's one I'll take here from Anonymous. When will X Series support BYOD pass-through in Microsoft Teams for Android? Again, that is supported on the Poly application as well as some of the other applications. Again, we are going to try and work with Microsoft to get that through, so we get that parity between that. Again, in the next month or so with the updates, we should have the ability to use that device mode, as it's called, on the device. So there's two options for device mode we're looking at the moment. One is that you could switch the device into USB and out of USB whilst in the Teams client. We're also looking at permanent device mode on the X Series as well. So again, if you want to use it as a pure USB device without using the apps on it, then we'll give you device mode as a provider. There's a sneaky bit of an exclusive there for you. I believe that's coming out in the 3.31 release of the software for the X Series, so do keep an eye on that. I don't know if there's any other questions coming in while we're here. Alison is probably our top commenter. So Alison, great job on all the comments coming in. She says she's got two dogs. I know that when I'm on a call too, they talk loudly since they can't jump on the table. Well, you need noise block and acoustic fence using your poly equipment to block out those dog barks and cat meows. And that's exactly why that technology is there. With that, I can't see any more questions. I know we are over time, so I'm going to thank our guests for coming in. Gary, Tim, Rodney and Duncan for getting up so early in the morning. I want to thank all of you guys and girls for joining us here for this webinar with Poly, Microsoft and Headset Solutions. Love to hear more from you. Please hook us up on social media. I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, and you can find me on YouTube. All the other guys I know are on both, or definitely all on LinkedIn. I'm sure you can find them on Twitter. I had their handles on the banners as well. Reach out to the guys at Headset Solutions. Rodney, what's the email address for Headset Solutions? He's not listening. I'm going to say sales@headsetsolutions.co.za. Gary's still there.
You can send it to sales or just use any one of our first names at Headset Solutions.
So, Gary at headsetsolutions.co.za or Rodney at headsetsolutions.co.za. Hook up, check out Headset Solutions website, check out all of the social media posts. Have a great rest of the day there in South Africa. Wish I could join you and come down there very soon for a braai and some biltong. I'm missing it loads. Join me on Poly Weekly News every Monday and tell us what you'd like to see in the next webinar in this series, and we'll get some guests on and have another great session with you. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you all very, very soon.
Thank you, Neil.
Now we've got the dodgy bit where I'm waiting for someone to press the end button, which I'm guessing will be Neil.